Alright guys, welcome back. So we recently hit 2,000 subscribers and we're well on our way to 3,000. Good times. To celebrate, I'm going to show how to paint SPACE WOLF Armour. Specifically the blue, gold and red bits. So this bad boy here is what we're aiming for. Alright, so I've loaded up my palette here with the Fang, Fenrisian Grey, Vallejo Dark Sea Blue, Black, a saturated red. This here is Baal Crimson from Fantasy and Games, but you can use any red you like. Next up we've got Mars Orange from Scale Colour. Again, use whatever orange you like. Loganath Orange from the GW Edge range is pretty decent. Okay, and we've got some XV88, Balor Brown, Rhinox Hide, Vallejo Ghost Grey, and finally some white. Okay, so to start off, what we're going to do is take some of the Fang and block in a solid base coat. You can see here that this is going to be my second coat. It's always better to use two thin coats than one thick one. For the first highlight, we'll make a 50-50 mix of the Fang and Fenrisian Grey. We're going to roughly block this in along the top of the thigh plate. Then you want to pull the pigment up towards your highlight. So this is going to give you an initial starting point for your blend. Next up, we'll make a glaze using that same mix. And we're going to glaze over the transition in the direction of our highlight. You can see here that it's a little rough, so we'll make another glaze, this time with our base colour. And this time we're going to glaze over the rough patch going in the other direction. You can actually see that I'm doing this incorrectly. I'm going towards the highlight instead of away from it. So do the opposite of what I'm doing just now. Alright, so now we're going to use Fenrisian Grey to paint a thin line on top of the plate. We're going to paint this for about half its length, followed by a little edge highlight, like so. Okay, so again, make a glaze, this time with the Fenrisian Grey. And we're going to glaze in the direction of our highlight. You can see it looks really harsh right now, but that's kind of what we want. What we'll do is we'll soften this out with an in-between colour, but the starkness of that initial highlight is going to show through a little, which will help get that shiny look later on. So take your initial highlight and mix in a little Fenrisian Grey, and then we'll add some water to give us a thickish sort of a glaze. Now unfortunately my camera stopped working here, so I actually missed the first half of this. But it's the same idea you used in the previous steps. You're just going to pull the pigment up over the surface towards your highlight using that initial line as a guide. So something like this. Alright, so once you've done that, you're going to reinforce the line again with Fenrisian Grey, but make your highlight about half as long this time. Alright, so we're going to do the shading now. We'll take some of our dark sea blue and we'll just block it in towards the lower edges of the armour. Now you're going to want to make a glaze and apply it in the direction of the shadow. So just build this up over a couple of layers until you blur out the transition. So to finish this up, what we're going to do is take some pure white and dot just where the edge highlight meets the line at the top of the thigh. For the red knee pad, take some of your red and mix in some black. You're looking to make quite a dark red for your initial base coat. Just go ahead and block that in. Now we're going to mix some red into our base colour and use that for our first highlight. You want to just try and pull the paint up over the surface towards the top of the pad. Now we're going to highlight again, except this time we're going to go straight for our brightest red. The thing about red is that because it's so transparent, the paint will go on looking super bright, but when it dries it just sort of dulls out. So you really need to apply a few layers until you get that nice vibrant red tone. Alright, so now we're going to take some of our orange and we'll edge highlight along the top edge of the knee pad. When I'm doing this, I tend to use the side of the brush towards the tip of the bristles. It's a lot easier doing it this way than trying to paint it on with the very tip of the brush. You have a lot more control over what's happening when you're using the side. Mix some white into your orange and you'll use that to just pop the last highlight. So again, we're doing another edge highlight, but this time we're hitting only the very top of the armour plate. To do the freehand, we'll grab some Vallejo Ghost Grey and we'll trace in a zigzag pattern over the centre of the knee pad. Just work from one side to the other. Try and be neat. If you do make any mistakes, you can just even out the line again using the red tones on your palette. For the rivets, simply paint them black and then come back with some pure white and dot the top of them. You want to try and make this dot quite small so that you leave a black outline around it. Okay, so we'll move on to the gold parts now. Start with some XV88 and we'll just apply this onto the top of what are going to be the gold sections. You can notice that I've already based these areas with black, so try and leave some of the black showing in the recessed areas. That's going to help give you a really strong contrast. Next we'll use Balor Brown. You want this to be a fairly heavy glaze consistency. So we're going to go for a highlight here in the centre of the top edge and another one at the corner on this lower bit here. Alright, so mix in some white and we'll make a little transition on the palette to save time. And then you're just going to want to build up your highlight all the way up to white. When I'm doing these little thin surfaces, what I like to do is to dot the brush where I want the highlight to be, and then while it's still wet, sweep the brush up to the dot on either side. Hopefully you can see what I mean by that. To shade the gold, we'll make a fairly thick glaze with Rhinox Hide. And we'll apply this so that it's moving away from the highlights. To finish off, I'll add some very small highlights with white. You want to dot these along the edge so that they are next to your darkest areas. It's the same sort of idea as when you're painting, say, a gemstone. That one on the rivet there was a bit too big, so what we'll do is just take some of our Rhinox Hide and shrink it a bit. Alright, so that is how you paint Space Wolf Armour. Alrighty, so thanks for watching guys, I hope that was useful. Don't forget to like and share the video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks again. Bye for now.